All right, you're live.
Welcome back to House Education on March 17th, 2026. Just reminding the committee that while we struggle to find consensus, we need to struggle less so that we can try to make some progress given certain legislative deadlines. And while we don't have a fixed firm deadline, I think our goal would be to get something out by the end of next week. Just want to set that out there. Yeah,
Out of committee or out of the house?
out of the committee would, I mean, out of the House would be great, but out of the committee would be best. Just some sort of, well, I was going to do a little exercise with this, but I don't think I will. But I think it's sort of say that it's like, let's all say what we want to happen. But I think that we all want the same big things, but we all want to do it in different ways. So I'm not sure it would really make things very productive.
Wait, sorry, can I ask?
Yeah.
You all want the same big things. What big things are you assuming that we all want? Can I ask that?
Increased equity and opportunity, controlling costs. All right, you also want to throw something out there? What's it? Stability.
Consistency of, I guess that goes under quality, consistency of expectations.
Predictability. Fiscal predictability.
I'm going to temporarily change the topic to another thing that we all agree on is that we need regional high schools, bigger regional high schools that accommodate more kids.
I'm not 100% sure I agree on 100%. Like everyone in that region needs to go to the big regional high school. I will put out there, I'm still trying to save a few small high schools.
Yes, well, I think that, you know, I would say that that's again going to be a local decision.
Okay.
So I think to combine the two thoughts, you can still have a regional high school. If the region doesn't close all of the high schools, kids could still go to those other high schools. It doesn't mean just because you have this, it's going to be a decision based on that governance model of that district. If there's a big regional high school, does everyone have to choose it, or can they?
Depends on whether you have choice or not. But it's going to be a local decision.
But here's the sort of problem with that is that like, I think some of the smaller high schools want to exist with more stability than just at the will of maybe local government.
We all want what we want. So, and that exists under the current system. So then why don't you just stick with what, I guess, Leanne, I would ask you then, what do you want? What would be the solution
I would want,
in your mind?
I think the solution is to move towards the regional high schools and have certain regions, perhaps those that already have an existing high school, maintain the option to remain their own district so that they remain their own governance if they're not wanting to let go of their high school. I think that we will find that Vermonters will surprise us and are starting to see the benefit of moving towards these larger regional high schools. And there will be room for those small places that want to say, no, we are not in on this.
This all is always going to come back to the fact that we are a statewide funded school system. And so we can all want what we have, but if that want to have costs other Vermonters to have to subsidize it, that's where it gets challenging.
But like if we've saved hundreds of millions of dollars because most move towards the regional high schools and we can't make a little flexibility for those that don't want to move towards the regional high school to have something that maybe does cost a little more money, or can we put the parameters on it that like you can continue to have these small high schools if once we figured out a foundation formula, you can come in at something within that algorithm?
These, we're getting way into the future world. If we ever get there, I would foresee those as being, if they're within a district, a more larger district, that would be a district decision.
Right, and so that's where I sort of can't get on board. It's because if that becomes no longer a local, if it's a new district that is not going to share their value and they could be shut down at any time based on sort of the zeitgeist of the moment, like, that's
So
not.
So I would say that you are somebody who, regardless of how we get there, newer, larger districts is not something you can really get behind.
I can get behind if there is room for those that don't want to join. And I think that most will want to join.
Josh.
Also too with the foundation formula in play, right? Like if, depending on how those movement patterns that naturally will happen under your thought process, there will be schools that may not be getting enough funding because they went from that small school may have kids going to that regional high school. And now the community's going to have to decide because they may have to.
I don't want to start playing out every future scenario where I was going with the newer regional high school discussion was actually to say, we still don't have a way to spend $500 million.
Right. But the decisions that we're making now are kind of setting the foundation for that future state. So we do have to be at least mindful of how the decisions we're making today are going to create a reality for tomorrow. We can't be like, that's down the road.
Sure. So if we circle back to creating CISAs, where the job of the CISA is, among their jobs, is to bring people together to create newer, larger districts that would largely be voluntary. I don't know where I was going with this. I guess if and when Beth is available, we do have some language that we could put on the table that sort of would talk about this. I'm not sure it would say anything more than what we've already said. But just to sort of look at statutory language that includes our previous BOCES language and some things we're going around. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm running out of brain power. My fish should be better. So I'm going to open it up for further conversation. Emily.
So I don't want to get into voluntary or forced because frankly, I think if we stay focused on the kids, we're going to do what's right. Eventually with incentives. But I wonder if the model that you're describing about CISOs and redistricting under that umbrella could also under that umbrella come regional, middle, and high schools. And I'm saying having conversations, facilitating conversations in regions, the CISA region. I looked at the members of the CISA that exist. They're all supervisory unions, except there's one supervisory district, the single. The rest are all supervisory unions. I think it's it, and I feel like it has to happen at that level. Be able to talk broadly about how we can join together. If we start talking at each individual school district within at that SU level, it becomes more and more challenging. We have to think about a higher level as we're having these conversations. But I really don't want to drop the middle high school opportunity that out there because I think it merges very plainly with what my hope is for the future state of CTE, which is it's in every high school. Programming is in every high school and it's available to every child.
Sorry, I checked there for a second. I guess, is it helpful for us to, as we think about how we can sort of productively move through this CISA discussion, to talk about, talk about the shared services piece of it while we all sort of continue to mull around in our minds how the additional portion of discussing that regional concept might work. And that seems like a simpler starting place for me.
Right.
Say that again.
So we're kind of talking about CISA's accomplishing a couple of different purposes, like the shared services model that we've heard testimony about and the task force recommended, and then also this sort of newer layer of whether they can be sort of a container for those discussions about what future consolidated school districts might look at. And I'm just wondering, if and when we start looking at language, if it's easier to sort of start with the first thing as we all continue to sort of brainstorm what that second layer might look like.
Thank you. That helps.
I'm also gonna throw out that, I feel, having been doing this for like decades, one of the things that holds us back always is the fact that we don't have school e-finance statewide, and I really mean this statewide, common school information system, you know, the e-finance and student information. And I feel like if we're going to talk about redistricting, we need to be serious about making sure that we get that in place. God, I can't believe how many years I've been saying that. Scary.
So what would you like to talk about with shared services? How would you like to direct
Oh.
that conversation?
Well, I think, is that coming back?
I should be here. 10 minutes.
Okay, oh yeah. I think I feel like there's a list that exists somewhere.
Oh, there is.
Yes.
There is. It's, you know, I
In the report or.
I think to the larger point, we need to look at CISAs as not just the tool by which we could potentially move toward newer, larger districts, but first and foremost, sort of in the immediate future, as a way to save money while we
Yes.
move toward a future world
Yes.
through shared services.
So I'll just support.
So did you want to talk about what those specific shared services might be?
The floor is open.
That's what I was actually gonna talk about because I live in supervisory area, an area where we have one, and I was just talking to my superintendent who was really pretty excited in the conversation I was having with him about having more opportunities through the CISA for special ed delivery. And we talked a little bit more, and I'm gonna really paraphrase and mess this up with what he said, but we talked a little bit more about other opportunities and that are opening up in this newly formed CISA, which is really just beginning. Well, I should say it's beginning as a BOCES. It's not like we haven't been doing a shared services, but now with the system in place, it's a lot of it is still coming. He mentioned about transportation and said, you know, he was hoping, he was looking at that to see if that was an opportunity that wasn't quite available yet. But there's a lot of conversations going on. But special ed was really big because in rural areas, it's really hard to find staff. In smaller schools, smaller districts, smaller regions, rural regions.
I just would, I think that like everything we do here, everything's got a good point and bad point. CISAs are going to come with a level of investment that has to be made, but so does everything we're trying to do with ed transformation. The numbers are really big. So period, because I could just sort of say, well, I can see us heading down that, well, it's going to cost us a bunch of money. The shared services part of that we keep talking about has potential. I think we're seeing this just the start of the potential down in southeastern Vermont. But that wasn't mandated. It's sort of like what I've been saying before about moving to newer, larger districts that are state mandated. This is just my opinion. I only one vote on this committee. I believe Act 36 has been a proven proof of concept. Not everybody agrees with me, and I respect that immensely. But we're also seeing that CISAs we have a proof of concept already. We've also seen it work around the rest of the country. And so maybe it's time to supercharge it.
Yeah, maybe worth mentioning that if, parallels in the healthcare system around regional services. So, not just education specific.
In the CISAs that exist in your areas, you said they're already doing a special one. They're already doing those special ed services. So do all those,
They're already doing shared services around staffing for special.
right? So do those special ed teachers work within multiple districts that all have exactly the same contract?
So yes, they're hired by them. Help me with any of this, but 'cause I'm not on that board.
Okay.
I'm only telling you what I hear. And so I think if we want answers to these questions, we really ought to bring them back.
I would like to know how
But-
contracting works within a CISA.
We had,
We did.
I just say two things. We did ask. They're hired by the CISA, negotiated by the CISA.
And they all make the same.
I would say that within our bill on BOCES, which we are now going to call the CISA law,
Okay.
we have language that provides that sort of contract parity.
So I guess what I'm wondering is if you work like this many days in one district and this many in another, you're making two different wages?
You know, you're hired by the
You're
CISA.
hired by
You're
the-
hired by the
okay.
CISA. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And so, it's a fee for service model. So, the CISA might be charging $300 a day for that person to be there, but they're paying that person salary and benefits based on a contract, an employment contract.
And does that mean that CISA can then put them in any other school in the entire CISA that they're needed in?
They can work at any school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're probably suspect that there are guardrails, and maybe even in our thing, that they are supposed to be supplemental, not supplanting.
Okay.
Right. And say like they're hired to do a special job, like test kids. Right. And today they're in their school and then tomorrow they have to head over across the river, that sort of things, right?
I think where it may get complicated, I don't know, but if you were to have the CISA create the, specialized autism program to serve that district rather than sending students out of district. But that's where they save money.
So do they work within the, do they work within like a certain, bargaining agreement that
They have
the
done.
teachers are still in too, but this, I guess I would, all right.
I would go back and read the law that we have on the books.
I have so many questions.
But the answer is yes, they can collectively bargain. They may not, but they have the right to.
And they're part of one of the retirement systems.
Yeah, I think we even have that in there too, right? So,
The question that you posed about the cost of having, I mean, frankly, this is a pretty big CISA. It covers, quite a bit of Vermont. And I don't know what the cost was to set it up, but I know we got a $10,000 grant from the state to do it last year.
cost way more than 10,000.
It costs way more than 10,000, but I don't want us to make an assumption that it's going to be outrageous. I think we should figure out what it really does cost because, it is a fee for service. I mean, there's a person who's hired as the executive director and those members pay in to help offset the costs and they pay in additionally for any service they're purchasing. But I think we need, they got it off the ground and it wasn't.
So if we made the CTE districts supervisory unions, that would eliminate quite a few superintendents because it'd be a lot less supervisory unions. Could some of those superintendents then become BOCES managers?
I don't know. I mean, I don't remember this committee entertaining the idea of creating a bunch of supervisory unions.
I mean, you don't remember us ever saying we should have less supervisory unions?
I didn't know that we were creating, that we were turning CSIS into supervisory unions.
We're not, but I'm saying like within I mean, we're talking about less SUs. So like if we went with CTEs 17, 15 as SUs, and like 2 or 3 of them made up of CISAs or LOCs, that eliminates some superintendents. So I'm saying, couldn't some of the cost come from less administration that either could be those superintendents that aren't superintendents anymore, or we could hire out for people that wanted that job?
So the creation of newer, larger SUs is not something that we've had on the table here. A CISA cannot take on the role of a central office because
That's not what I'm saying, though. That a CISA should be an SU. That is, I'm saying that a CISA could be made up of multiple SUs.
Yeah. it is.
And that, or I see.
The one that exists is.
You see, from not having all these administrators
Right.
gets poured into this.
I am like totally confused now, because it seems like at one point we were talking about less SUs or SDs, and now we're saying we've never even brought that up, and I
No,
don't know.
you were,
what
you,
we were talking
all you said was, you
We
just
were
said
talking about
supervisor.
SUs, and we've moved to SDs.
So
So I don't think we've moved to SDs. I don't remember that bill happening.
We have moved nowhere. That's our big problem. CISA is just it doesn't matter what form of transformation we take, whatever it is, there are going to be a lot of costs behind it.
Sorry, I'm just, for illustrative purposes, can I pull out my map again? I'm trying to explain myself, but I feel like what I'm saying is not insane.
Well, I might be able to clarify too, because this current proposal we've discussed this afternoon, it doesn't combine any governing units together. It just, it puts the CISAs over the top of what's there now. And part of the CISA's job is to facilitate voluntarily those governing units, we'll just call them those 52 governing units, I think we have, getting together.
Yeah.
So in the short term, we still have 52.
But
You
what-
haven't lost any superintendents, you haven't lost anything. Down the road, the idea would be that they would voluntarily start to merge together. And through attrition and retire, there would be less superintendents, but they may not, you already have your CISA director, it's already all set up. That happens first and the merger happens later under this current proposal.
Right, I guess that would be the problem with what I'm saying, is that we
Yeah.
have already had to hire CISA, because what I was really trying to say was that, like, if, we took these 5 to 7, depending on if you divided that up, new CISAs, and said, okay, like this CISA that has 2 CTE regions is now actually 2 SUs that make up 1 CISA. Then that goes from being 2 superintendents to, or actually probably many, because there's many SUs in here, right, currently. But it would be 2 superintendents now, and one of those in a future state could be a CISA director, or someone else could be a CISA director, and they could just go looking for it. But like, go somewhere else.
I don't follow. My question here is will CISAs be hiring educational professionals? Yeah. We haven't gotten to the previous discussion before we took our break was about CISAs being the facilitators to have conversations, as Beth said, to create newer, larger districts.
That's, could be a 3-year process,
Yes.
or it could not.
It'd be
happen,
hard to
might not
imagine it
happen.
wouldn't be.
Even once an agreement has made to merge, it's a 3-year process, just to get the paperwork in order.
I was going to observe, if we set those regions up successfully, even if the district merger conversation succeeds, fails, like we'll still have these entities that will be collaborating on regional services, which we've heard testimony would be a good thing.
Yes. Yeah. We got, CISA has 2 jobs. Save money by providing shared services and getting folks together to talk about creating newer, larger SDs.
Perhaps they have a 3rd job in that there's coordination of curriculum, expectations, opportunities, et cetera, to provide improved quality across the CISA region as well.
We always have to be careful of who's the LEA.
Yeah, the LEA is
is
still the
always
LEA.
school district or SU.
Professional development is a big part of CISA.
When I say shared services,
Quality,
that's.
governance, quality, cost.
With Beth here and time ticking away for us to adjourn. We can have Beth walk through some of the language that we've asked her to sort of create within the CISA world. If she's ready and up for that. Sorry to make you rush around and jump from subject to subject here.
Okay, Beth St. James, Office of Legislative Counsel, do you have language posted?
We do not.
Oh, so I'm going into my own private files.
It's entirely up to you.
That's
We're not,
totally okay,
if we're not ready for that, but
no,
yeah,
that's up to you.
let's do it.
Are you all interested in hearing what happened to have the miscellaneous ad and ways and means while I
I would love,
do all the things?
love to hear that.
I have been asked to draft an amendment to plug the fee in. Instead of just saying a fee for background checks, it would be the number amount.
Oh.
And it would be AOE paying the fee, not the applicant.
This is for the miscellaneous ed bill.
Yes.
Oh, this is,
That's,
I need,
I think that's your section.
I know.
Wait, AOE would pay for their new hires.
Their
Get background
checks.
checks.
Yes,
And the applicant is not the one paying the AOE, is it?
in this amendment that I am drafting, yes.
But in a background check for a high school or an elementary school, teachers pay their own background.
So we actually pulled up these statutes. For superintendents, the applicant pays the fee. For teachers, it's up to school board policy.
Ah. So it varies. So an amendment to put in an actual dollar amount for the fee and have the fee paid. by
Yes,
the
and they're
AOE,
still
not the
discussing
applicant.
it, so that may change, but that was when I left the room where they were landing.
So what, can I ask, what is sort of the motivation in the AOE paying the fees for their applicants versus some school boards that require their potential employees to pay the fee?
Can't speak to their motivation.
The school board,
I'll bet it's consistent
Doesn't
with
wanna
the state
pay.
government.
it's easy as that.
Right, I guess I don't understand why teachers would pay their own fees if it's getting paid for by the AOE and the AOE.
You can say, why would a DCF investigator have to pay for their own or get it for free if the teacher doesn't get it for free?
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm guessing that within all of state government, there are probably many positions within many departments that require criminal background checks. And I'm going to speculating here, that in no department does the applicant pay their fee
At the government level.
at the state level.
At the state, well, so, right, so it still goes back to my question, why should,
That would be a question for your school board.
The school board policy.
but it can't be a state, like, never mind, I can't figure out how to frame my question. It seems like it should be equal across the board, like, our state is paying for our station.
State's not your employer.
Is that a bargaining issue? Like you bargain on.
Right,
Yeah, that's
right.
what.
Yeah, it's a bargaining issue.
Yeah,
This is,
is it? I don't feel like I've ever seen in my contract.
Maybe it could be.
well, things are all,
Maybe it could be.
anyway, let's
Okay.
let's move on to the topic at hand here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share my screen. I have to post what I share. Are you
Yeah.
comfortable with that?
Yes.
Might need more memory on your computer for all the emails.
I think in this case, Rob, we are probably talking about, as just like in the committee, like the minimalist we can do that that the majority of people can get on board with. I think it's the fact that it's the minimalist we can do is where we lose people.
Okay, I want to just orient you all to what you're gonna see. So what I did was I actually took all of your language from the miscellaneous ed bill that made the BOCES seesaw change. And I put it in this new committee bill, where we're also going to make substantive changes to seesaws. Depending on what you do, I would highly recommend at some point that if you are pursuing substantive changes to seesaws, you pull the name change language from the miscellaneous bill so that this language lives in one place only, because you're making substantive changes to the same areas of the law where you made name changes and they're not going to match. And it's going to get confusing. So I am watching this. It could happen in the Senate. It could happen when it comes back. You know, like, it's just something to be aware of. So you'll see we're not going to talk about any of the BOCES to seesaw or boards of cooperative education services to educational service areas changes. I highlighted in green. Green highlighting is just reader assistance headings. So as you are scrolling, they catch your eye and you can stop. Yellow language is substantive changes to your current BOCES law. I did this last night after not the longest of conversations. I don't know that this works 100%. I think it is a place for you to start. And as I was drafting this, have some questions about how this would actually work in the field that I will keep to myself until you ask me to share them.
And actually, I think part of this reason to have you kind of go through is to give us those questions.
Okay. Yeah. So we start with the policy. I amended the policy because the policy was allowing supervisory and encouraging supervisory unions to form BOCES. And now, spoiler alert, you are no longer allowing or encouraging voluntary formation. You are creating them yourselves, mandatory formation. So the policy would read, it is the policy of the state to create cooperative educational service areas to provide shared programs and services on a regional and statewide level. It is the intent of the General Assembly that cooperative educational service areas are utilized by member supervisory unions. And then the rest of it is current law to maximize the impact of available dollars through collaborative funding, reduce duplication of programs, personnel, and services, and contribute to the equalization of educational opportunities for all pupils. This is the purest form of policy choices you could make. It is a policy section. So for you to play with. The definition section, I added a new definition here for seesaw. You didn't have a definition of BOCES just because of the way that the BOCES law flowed. I didn't find last night an easy way to do the same thing, so I just added a definition of seesaw, which is an association of supervisory unions created pursuant to this chapter to deliver shared programs and services to complement the educational programs of member SUs in a cost-effective manner. A seesaw shall be a body politic and corporate with the powers and duties afforded them under this chapter. And then we keep the title, Creation of Seesaws. We keep this subsection heading, Establishment of Seesaws. But then we get rid of all the language that talks about voluntary formation. And we jump right to supervisory unions are arranged into the following cooperative educational service areas. Whatever you see fit. This is just a template. So the way I envision this is it would be seesaw number 1, or maybe there's a name, is formed of the member supervisory unions of, and then you would list a supervisory union and say, which is formed of the member school districts of. So you would have both the member supervisory union and school districts spelled out. This is a policy choice for you all. Under current law, seesaw, BOCES, membership is at the supervisory union level, not the school district level. instead of, and this is, I came up with this on my own last night. I need to phone a friend on some of this. I think there's no agreement anymore. You were creating these. So I felt like articles of agreement was not the right governing document. So I have substituted the term bylaws. I think that is a more applicable concept. My understanding is that supervisory unions have bylaws, most of them. Chelsea, is that accurate? Okay, then I'll move on. I just wanted you to correct me if I was wrong. But all of this to say, there's no more folks getting together and agreeing on a set of things. They do have to get together and agree on that. That's one of my outstanding policy questions. But now we're going to call them bylaws. Each CISA shall establish bylaws to serve as the operating agreement of the CISA. At a minimum, the bylaw shall state, and then you keep everything that the articles of agreement were required to have, except method of termination of the BOCES and withdrawal of member supervisory unions because you have created them. So only through an act of the legislature could you change them because they're set out in statute. Same for admitting new members. But certainly amending the bylaws would be within their purview. Otherwise, powers and duties remain the same. And then I struck this language because I just didn't think it was necessary. Any other matter not incompatible with law, the member supervisory unions consider necessary, period. To the formation of the BOCES, they're not forming anything now, you are. So I don't think you need that qualifier there. You could, if you wanted to, you could add to the necessary to the operation of the CISA or something to that. Board of directors remains the same. We're striking the prohibition on more than 7 BOCES. Powers and duties of the CISA remains the same, except I added this for your, at some direction, at some point, it is a true policy choice. Under current law, CISAs get to decide what educational programs, services they offer. This language says they have to, at a minimum, provide at least 3 of the 6. You could do 1 of the 6, all of the 6, 2 of the 6. You don't have to list any of these, but these are the areas that I have heard you discuss the most: special education, professional development, curriculum development, coordination, transportation, business and administrative services, and union school district creation, consultation, and facilitation. Executive director stays the same. The body politic and corporate stays the same. So leasing buildings, going into debt, etc. They can still apply for state or federal or private grants. The financing, budgeting, and accounting pieces all stay exactly the same. Annual report stays the same. Employment stays the same, so they're considered a public employer, and their employees would qualify depending on the role they serve as either a teacher or a non-teacher for retirement benefits, for healthcare benefits, for bargaining, and the applicable laws that apply to them. But all of that stays the same. I did repeal the transition report, section 3 of 2024's Acts and Resolves number 168, which is the BOCES bill. Had a report back to you all in, I believe, 2028 of the lay of the land of who had voluntarily created BOCES. If you all are creating them, that's a moot point. So I've repealed that report back. I've also amended the startup grant. So there is established a educational, I need to add a word there, but educational service area startup grant program, still to be administered by AOE from funds appropriated for this purpose, to award grants to the CISAs created in 16 VSA 603 subsection A to assist with startup costs. And then I didn't touch the money. CISA shall be eligible for a single $10,000 grant. Grants may be used for startup costs and formation costs, including, instead of articles of agreement, bylaws. And now we're not awarding them to only one supervisory union to manage. You have created the CISA. So I didn't touch any of the amount there. And then the rest of this, in this, under this reader assistance heading are all the conforming amendments to the collective bargaining law, the healthcare law, the retirement law, where you had the term BOCES and we're swapping seesaw. I didn't make any changes there. I cannot stress enough that this can be whatever you want it to be, and it also doesn't have to be anything, if that makes sense.
Questions? Yes.
The $10,000 grant, I would like say go to the lawyer that it took to make the new agreements.
Yes.
Okay, is that what it costs? A lawyer for something like that is $10,000?
Don't know. We only had one
Okay.
do it. They, I don't know if they spent all the 10,000 or not.
But it's not more than 10,000.
I think if we start, if we're envisioning what we are envisioning here, it's gonna be significantly more money than that.
So shouldn't the grant be for the amount of money the lawyer?
$10,000 is a placeholder.
Okay,
Because that's what's currently there. That could be changed as well.
okay. I mean, we must have sort of, after years and years and years of bargaining, we must have some idea what a lawyer for that amount of time costs. It's like gonna be essentially be the same, right?
We've only created one BOCES,
Right, but
and one set of articles of agreement. for
You don't think
BOCES.
I guess what I'm saying is, would it be that dissimilar to the lawyers that get hired for the bargaining process?
Very different things.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And under this, we're talking about doing far more, since we are mandating, let's say CESAs are being created, we're gonna be spending more than that.
Sorry, it's fine. I was just trying to figure out what would be the actual number of grant we might get.
That's gonna be one of those hard things that we're gonna circle around forever.
So in that area, Beth, where you had the list of the different things, we're talking about the last one that you put on there being mandatory as one of them, and then they would choose.
That's a
two
question
others.
for us, that is what we are talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way it's drafted now is that a seesaw would still be able to decide what educational program services facilities it offers, but at a minimum, it had to select 3 of the list of 6. That is completely a policy choice.
And I think that what we were saying was that last one is not optional.
Well, then I could amend the language appropriately.
In addition to facilitating
Yep,
districts.
They must do 3 of the following
Or
6, or 2 or 4, or whatever we.
Yeah,
But it's envisioned to be completely, excuse me, any kind of bartering underneath the CISA would be completely voluntary. So realistically, you could wind up with a situation where you just implemented 5 or 7 or how many CISAs stay.
I mean, if
And then there was no
nobody
mergers.
would agree to come together.
Correct.
Yes,
There's no
yes.
incentive, really, no state sponsored incentive.
There's no stick, there's no carrot,
Right.
other than the ones implicit in being larger. Correct. Now, I don't think, to counter that, I would say that doesn't diminish a CISA in and of itself being a positive step towards money savings.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Always pro BOCES.
Yeah. I think I got something we can all agree on.
Just call it BOCES.
Again, procedurally, that's my favorite word today. Because I totally understand why you want to pull this out of the miscellaneous ed, well, if this was going to be a standalone.
Yeah.
Do we need to be making that decision soon? I mean, could we because the miscellaneous ed, we could postpone, right, if we needed to, or?
So this is what I think we can all come to agreement on, that we should pull it out of the miscellaneous ed bill. Because even if we do nothing, there's no harm in still calling it BOCES for
Okay.
a year.
We should just pull it.
So the benefit is right now we could just have all the other committees pull it at our request.
Okay.
Set that up tomorrow.
Does that make sense to everybody?
She's off the hook.
Nice. Oh, no,
I
so
need to
just gonna-
change.
I was gonna introduce it by apologizing to Kate for pulling this out.
It's okay.
Change my notice to
Pulling her
who I
sentence
follow.
I will give you daily background checks.
Still like.
All right, so if the committee's okay with it, I will ask either approach or wait to just pull that out. Is there any repercussions? I mean, it was actually your suggestion. Yeah.
I mean, the repercussion is you don't pass
And then we call it BOCES for,
and then it's BOCES until
Because
we
it was
decide to change it.
Yeah.
Ways and Means is having me draft an amendment for tomorrow, so
right.
if you wanted to, that might be a natural place to do that.
that'd be great, thank you.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
I'll let the chair know that that's at our request.
It's good to know.
Man, I spent 10 community meetings telling people it's no longer BOCES.
We're still.
Well, if that passed, you're right.
You're still.
So I'm actually following the interstate compact.
So at a certain point, I'm gonna need to get a read of the room.
Think about it overnight.
I think we should think about it overnight, as Beth suggests. And I just will say that, you know, I can already understand the various concerns that everybody would have with this. Speed at which change happens, speed at which change doesn't happen. So all these things to think about as we continue our discussion, and maybe we'll just wrap right there. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.